Hi, welcome to another episode of One Day New Teeth, Real Stories, Real Decisions. Today we have Anthony. He have had a similar journey as you may have heard in past. He got his full mouth smile makeover, and let's hear from him as how it went and how the story was. So, Anthony, thank you for coming in and thank you for having this conversation. Let's just understand, what did you get done and why did you get it done?
Well, I had, I guess you call it a double arch, the top and the bottom done. It started off initially that I could only afford the top at the time. And as time went on, it was determined that I really should get the bottom done. And I really wanted the permanent arches in place versus I had a denture that attached to the post, which was okay, but I wanted the whole set done completely where I didn't have to worry about any issues with food digestion, chewing, and any of that kind of things. I was impressed with your presentation, and it gave me the facts and figures and everything that made sense to me. Fortunately, because I had already had the top done, it worked with me to get the bottom done at somewhat of a discounted cost to help absorb some of that. So that was definitely appreciated. But I had it done because my teeth were just getting so bad. I couldn't, I love corn on the cob. I like apples and things that you bite into. I couldn't do any of that because even with the new uppers, the bottoms started to get loose and fall out. And it was hard to eat those things. And in talking with my mother, on her side of the family, as far back as my great grandmother, who I did know and interact with, they've all had bad teeth. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a genetic thing or not, but ironically, it's one of those things that goes from generation to generation. So I'm trying to encourage my boys. I have two boys here in their 30s now, but I try to encourage them, make sure you take care of your teeth.
Absolutely.
And which they've been doing. My older son, he had it's a bit of an accident as growing up, where they were boxing in the yard and he got hit in the mouth and pushed his teeth back. The heartbreaking part about that was we had just gotten his braces off like a couple weeks before that. Yeah. And his teeth were really needing care. So all that money went down the drain. But they were able to put him back in place for the most part. But he's saying I guess he's having problems and he wants to do the same thing at some point.
Yeah.
So, well, I may have another customer for you one day.
No, thank you. Yeah. And it's a good advice, like for the people, like definitely take care of your teeth, right? Because if you don't take care of it right now, down the road, they are going to have issues, especially the people that are already at a high risk. It's always a good idea to start taking care of it. And obviously you want to delay this treatment as much as possible. But when is the right time, you definitely want to jump into it. So let's talk about that initial time, right? So you mentioned you originally had an overdenture or snap-in teeth on the top.
Right.
How was that experience? Just having a snap-in teeth and the regular teeth on the bottom. What were your challenges, limitations?
It wasn't too bad of an experience, actually. It actually was more positive. It was a positive experience, because I had more teeth in my mouth. I could chew. I think in the back, I might have had 4, 5 teeth at the most in the back, and they were like 2 on one side, maybe 3 on the other, that kind of thing. And I had to chew mostly with the front teeth, which was wearing them down as well as what I was told,
Okay.
So it was definitely a plus. But I should back up just a little bit because I did have to wear a partial denture probably for, I don't know, 30. Well, that happened when I was in my teens. I'd say a good 30, 40 years. I had a one tooth partial that I wore, and that got old and, it broke a couple times and, it would flop around, and not to mention the embarrassing moments where it would fall loose while I'm talking to somebody, especially if I'm trying to be charming to somebody. But even that eventually got to the point where I needed to give it more attention, which kind of led me to considering the arches,
Yeah.
over time.
So overdenture, a little more about it, the snap-in teeth, right? Now you are into regular set of teeth. So I'm just trying to compare and contrast. How was your feeling having that type of denture in your mouth? You had to also get a little bit adjusted with eating food and cleaning, right? Maintenance for it is much different than your current teeth, which are fixed. So how was that experience? And did you feel that experience was better, worse than what you are currently right now, or your natural teeth?
Well, my natural teeth, we're just going to take that off the table altogether because they were overdone with, they were worn out to begin with. Between the denture and the teeth I have now, I was more comfortable with the snap-in denture initially. because it just felt more comfortable. It gave me more teeth to work with. But because the bottom teeth were so staggered, it was still a little bit of a challenge to get that even bite. And even to chew, I was biting my cheek a lot, biting my lip a lot, and so when it was decided that I needed to go with the bottom denture, and I was having problems with teeth cracking and cavities, that type of thing, that something had to be done. As far as yeah, I mentioned about the maintenance of it. The snap in, it wasn't that big of a deal. They were like other regular other dentures, drop them in the jar, use the cleaner, and go from there. As opposed to my current teeth, now it feels more natural, just like brushing my teeth as I should have been doing all along, I suppose. But I do like the fact that I'm committed to doing I use the water pick every day, sometimes twice a day. Plus, then I brush them as well after using the water pick, just to make sure that there's like a film builds up on them. Just from using the water pick doesn't necessarily take that. It's like a fuzzy film I can feel with my tongue. But after I brush them, they're perfectly fine, and that carries me through the day from day to day. So I'm definitely more comfortable with what I have right now. My confidence is so much different than when I had the dentures. Yes, absolutely.
And I'm sure, so eating wise, whether it be denture or fixed teeth versus your partial experience. So partial probably took away some of your palate, right? With the overdenture, the palate is gone. So your tongue has a little more space. Right. And then you get into the fixed teeth, you have a little more space than even the overdenture, right? So how was the food experience throughout those three teeth set?
Again, wearing the dentures, I could only chew on one side, primarily just the one side. Once I got the set that I have now, I can enjoy eating again, really, because I can chew left side, right side, however I want to do it, and it's not a problem. Now it's like I said, I love corn on the cob. Summertime, I love corn on the cob. Things that I can bite into. It's much easier. It feels more natural returning back to the way I used to eat.
Once you got fixed teeth, so initially we went from partial to some damaged teeth on the bottom. Then you had overdenture for just one arch. And then eventually you decided, okay, both arches, let's get it done. Let's get nice fixed teeth in there. So once you got the fixed teeth, right? How was that surgery experience? How was the transition? Like, was it very quick? Took a while?
The surgery experience, that was probably the most unique thing. One of two procedures that I've had to get done that was, I don't want to say traumatic, but it made an impact on me because it wasn't quite what I expected, but it wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
It was just, I had all my teeth removed, and it was different.
Yeah.
That's something I, wasn't expecting. And it was a long procedure because it took, I think it was like 6, 8 hours, to go through everything that the doctor had to do. Aside from that, it really wasn't that bad. It was just the trauma of going through that experience. Just something I hadn't done before.
And then, so now when you had this surgery, were you awake for it? Were you put to sleep?
I was awake for it. I would have preferred to be asleep, but the preliminary indications were that it was better for me just to get the numbing. I don't use lidocaine, novocaine,
Yeah. Just local anesthesia.
local anesthesia. Yeah,
It's been 2 years or a little more than that, right? Yeah. If you want to comment a little bit on the material, right? So I believe what you have is a PMMA material with reinforced metal underneath, right? So it's a acrylic version similar to the denture material, just a little more advanced. But it is not a full-blown zirconia, which is very hard material, right? A lot of patients go through this PMMA material as a transition material, right? But you're one of those few exceptions that have had it for quite a while, wore it for at least 2+ years, and they're still strong,
right.
no problem. So describe the experience with the teeth. Are you feeling any limitations? Are you feeling that sometimes you still have to hold back on something? You mentioned you love corn on a cob and it's been working out great, but any limitations that you have seen with this type of teeth?
No, not really. I do limit myself. If it's something extra crunchy or extra hard, I stay away from it because they're not the zirconium set, and I realize that there's potential that they can be damaged. So I try to be a little bit mindful about that. I don't need anything really crunchy or really hard candy, that type of thing. And I'm fine with that. It fits into my lifestyle without too many issues. So that works for me. The only issue that I think I experienced at some point was I was biting my lip on the inside from time to time. Now, once you nip it one time, it kind of gets inflamed, and you're biting it more frequently. But aside from that, it's been a good road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people considering this type of treatment, you have lived through both of them. The snap in, you have lived through the fixed set of teeth. Which one would you recommend?
I would recommend the fixed set, the permanent set to be in. I really would because it's like taking care of your natural teeth. It's the way you should have been doing it all along. To me, it's just easier. The other thing to take into consider that I took into consideration anyway was the fact that because I'm using the water pick twice a day, I had a really bad halitosis problem with my original teeth. I didn't even realize how bad until somebody finally told me. And I don't have that as far as I know. I don't have that problem now, because I'm more attentive to the care that I'm giving them.
Yeah. And plus, I'm sure that taking care of these is much easier, right? Than if you had some broken teeth, damaged teeth, missing teeth. This is continuous set, so a little easier to maintain on a day-to-day basis.
Right. Because the damaged teeth, you kinds of nooks and crannies and potential cavities that food can get trapped in, whereas with my set now, everything is gets cleaned out every day. It's just easier to maintain.
Do you feel over time the color of the teeth are changing? Is it staying the same?
Watching that, and I don't think so because people have complimented me. Say, "Oh, how are your teeth so white?" Sometimes I tell them, sometimes, "Oh, I just water pick and brush them every day." But some people are noticing that how white teeth are. So I take it in stride.
Yeah, no, no, that's pretty good. And the do people like when you talk to others, right? Do they, other than the color of them, do they easily recognize or understand if you don't tell them that you have fake teeth?
Not at all.
Yeah. No, that's good. Going back to the surgery, right? When you had a surgery, when you woke up from surgery, or maybe when you went home and saw your family, how did your family react? Did they feel a different, saw a different you, or was it business as usual?
Well, because I had to go through like a gradual process, where I had the teeth were taken out that I had to wear temporary dentures until the healing process took place. That took some getting used to because I sometimes they were just so uncomfortable. I just wouldn't even wear them. And that was just a matter of only like family, close friends. I'd go without them if they were there. If I was going out in public, I always put my dentures in. But that took some getting used to for some people, but for myself, the challenge I had there is that, I'm trying to talk to people and the dentures are flopping around, and moving around, and it sounds like a lot of mush coming out instead of actual verbiage. But otherwise, it was tolerable. It seemed like at the time, I do remember it's like, oh man, we still got to wait 6 weeks to go through all this.
Yeah.
It seemed like a long time, but eventually you get to the end goal.
When you had these teeth, right? Like you said, it definitely helped you with your confidence and whatnot, right? On a day to day basis, that it made you feel much different. Did it impact how you kind of presented yourself to the community, your social life?
Not too much. I I think it helps when I'm speaking, only because I how can I say this without sounding arrogant, but I've always had a good diction. I'll say it that way, and like I said before, people seem to like my voice. They've always complimented me on my voice. I think it's helped me to improve in my diction and general speaking than I had before. So I think it's definitely a benefit.
Yeah. Do you feel like a while ago, before you have had any trouble with your teeth, did your diction, speech went back to where you were?
Yeah, I think it did. It's much more natural than it was with all these apparatus in my mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So if someone's listening to this today, right, and they're considering this surgery because they have had bad teeth or they have had issues, or they know that their family have had much bad teeth and some of them are falling apart, that they want to start considering it, would you steer them towards getting an overdenture or fixed teeth?
I would go with the fixed teeth. It's just a much easier maintenance process. It's just easier to maintain. And I just think it's more comfortable, more natural.
And what should they really think about before they decide that they should go with this treatment or not?
The healing process.
Mhm.
Each step, it takes, like I said, it takes 6, 8 weeks. I don't remember the exact number of weeks, but it was a bit of a lengthy time that you had to go through and let it heal. I think at one point am I thinking there might have been like several months at one point. I don't recall, but you have to go through the process and let it heal. It's not going to be an overnight thing. It's not going to be something that, okay, next month I'll get, you know, be quick and fast and in a hurry. Maybe for some people it might be. It wasn't for me, but that's something I think if you're going to do this, to think about that and make up in your mind that you're going to have to go through the duration of the healing process.
In the grand scheme of thing, I assume the healing wasn't as difficult.
No, the
It
healing
was
wasn't bad.
worthwhile to go through it.
Yeah, it was just a matter of putting in the time and having the patience to work through it. We're in a lot of instances in a society where we want instant gratification or quick gratification. Yeah, and I wanted quick gratification too, but I had to let my teeth let the gums heal until I was ready for the permanent set of teeth.
Just to understand, as you went through the whole journey, because your journey was a little longer than many patients, right? Because we went from one set of teeth. First, we did that first set, then we did the full mouth rehab and whatnot. So
Hmm.
you have been partnered with the team for a while. What did you feel was really important when someone decides to pick a team to work with? What did you look for when you decided that you wanted to get teeth done with us versus going somewhere else? Like, what should someone look for when they're deciding?
Okay. One of the big things for me, because I'm in healthcare and I was a manager in healthcare, one of the big things for me was customer service. It still is customer service. I know the measures I take to meet the satisfaction for my patients and customer service. And I expect that when I'm on the other side of the line, I expect that kind of thing from whoever's from McDonald's to getting a medical procedure done. And when I was involved with this process, everything was 100%. 100%. Everybody was professional. Everybody was friendly, and it made the process that much easier. Actually, you get to know the person, the patient, a little bit. Even if you only remember one or two things, remember those one or two things, considering all the hundreds of patients that you probably see over a period of time.
Yeah, yeah, no, too good to hear. Now, would you recommend us?
Absolutely. Actually, I did.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I was on the tail end of mine. You remember the gentleman that came in and he had taken his medications wrong? His name was Chris, and my sister-in-law. Naturally, she knew what I was going through, and she referred him to American Dental Excellence, and he jumped right on it.
Yeah, no, glad that hopefully that we're able to deliver such kind of experience to everyone. Anything else that you think that people considering this type of teeth, looking to do a full mouth restoration, what should they consider? Why should they consider it? When should they consider it?
Well, again, when they should consider it, I think that's entirely up to their timetable. They feel it's best for them to do it. Depending on what their circumstances are, why they would consider it. Again, that's more of a personal thing, I think, but I would strongly recommend doing it if it's something that you're thinking about. If you have been having problems, I'll say it's less problems once you get your permanent set. You brush them every day, you floss them every day, they'll basically be okay. And if you get the zirconiums, you're really good because you don't have to worry about, breakage or anything. I don't really worry too much about that, but, you just have that added measure. It's almost like you get your teeth in, you can kind of not worry about them.
Yeah.
I've been in places where people have had dentures and like in a bar and these people laughing and the teeth go flying across.
I want to see that at some point. I haven't seen it at all. I heard about it, but never seen it.
I felt it was humorous, but at the same time, I felt compassion for her.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we can laugh it off, but yeah. So obviously elephant in the room, right? So all the work that you've done, it's great. Everything was good. Healing was great. Behind all of it, one big chunk, you had to spend certain money in order to do it, right? Finances must have been tough. How'd you navigate that?
Well, initially, I had a retirement account that I tapped into to start the process. That was for denture, with the posts. And then after that, to do the bottoms, that required financing. So we just had to finance that portion, which I'm still paying for that part, but I'm happy. So I'm fine with that. And it was a convenient process. Your office made it a simple process to make everything fall into place. So that was on point as well.
It's good to hear. So last question that I have, and a lot of people ask me this. That's why I'm asking. Do you regret getting these teeth?
No, the only regret is that I have this bill to deal with. Outside of that, no, I have no regrets.
Anything else that you feel like the viewers would get from that you want to share with them? This experience, anything else that you think that might be good to share with the team?
I just think it's a great idea. I'm glad that this was an opportunity I could take advantage of. Once I reached a point when I realized that my teeth were, I'm losing teeth, they're, having problems. I always wondered, okay, when am I? I was young, I was in my 40s, and I have all these problems going on. I'm 64 now, and I feel so much better in that sense that, I was always looking for, okay, what solution here am I going to consider? Get full dentures where I have to take them out and put them in a jar every day. And as time went on and the technology developed, here we are with, with the nice set of teeth.
No, nice. So that brings another point or question. So you mentioned that you have had possible troubles that started in your 40s, right? And then you got these teeth in your late 50s to 60s. Why so much weight? What did you do for that time period? Do you think there wasn't a right product available for you?
I don't think the product was available. I wasn't necessarily aware of it, and the cost of it, I assumed what the cost might have been. And quite honestly, being totally transparent, I was on, I think I was on Instagram or something, and one of the ads popped up, and they went through the ad, and it's like, yeah, let me look into it and see. So I called the number or emailed them, whatever the case was at the time, and then you folks called me, and it was meant to be. Online products, it's like a gamble sometimes. You never know what you're gonna get. Like I said, I feel fortunate and feel blessed that I did have, we made contact. It was, like I said, it's been a good experience, a positive experience for me, and, I would recommend it to anybody that needs to consider the procedures.
So when you went through this online journey and you selected us and we kind of reached out to you, for people, I'm sure nowadays because the internet grows every day, right? And like if people now, there's a lot of social connections and AI that forces people that, oh, now look into this, and like 15 different company might be shown on your Instagram ads or whatever. What should they look for when they're searching for a company, right? Like how do they know that this is it? Should they look for and interview multiple different offices, or should they just go to one and just start right away?
Well, I did compare a couple different offices, and for what you were offering more for the permanent set of teeth, it was a better option to come here versus going somewhere else. I mean, talking almost double pricing wise. Yeah. And I'm like, no, that's just not going to work. And because you folks reached out to me and we started this process from there, I think was definitely a plus as well.
Mm.
You did the follow up, make sure that, finding out what my level of interest was. And that's what helped contribute to it as well.
Okay, good. Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Anthony, for coming in. Hopefully, this definitely helps the viewers understand the different side, understand the real story behind why and how you came to this decision. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I hope it benefits future customers. Get the teeth.
Yeah, no, that's really the goal, is to help share this knowledge that there is a technology and the system and the process in place that you should look into instead of suffering from whatever ill teeth situation that people may be into.
Anything else. Some people aren't able to take advantage of certain things, but knowing that the technology is there, had I been aware of this technology earlier, I might have done something earlier. But we're where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be. So here I am.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And we'll reach back with you guys, hopefully with another story in near future. Remember, one day new teeth, real stories, real decisions.